Yo, what's good? It's your boy Big Bain in this thing. Hey, check this out before we jump into the awesomeness, right? Need y'all to check me out on all my social platforms. I'm pretty much on everything. Check me out on SoundCloud, Patreon, BeatStars, all the streaming services. My official website, forexwithbain.com. That's where you can join my Discord. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all right? Let's get right into it.
Yeah, I'm really finna get your ass the game, man. You know I break it down. Come on, man, you know it's Bain.
Alright, yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Bain Break It Down Forex. It's your boy Big Bain in this thing. You guys guessed it. Another week, another opportunity for us to make some money in the Forex market. So let's get right to it. Alright, boom, over to the dollar, guys. Alright, so we are bearish, right? Dollar made a push down, and all last week it finally decided to rise, right? But as you can see on the 2-hour time frame, you know, we're a little mixy, right? We got a fair value gap to fill, as well as a supply area that we can reach up to. But as it looks, you know, right now, it looks like the dollar could, you know, start falling, right, to, you know, do its drop, you know, taking out this fair value gap. So it's a little mixed, you know, just at the moment. We do have CPI and PPI this week. I believe CPI is Thursday and PPI is Friday. I might be wrong on that, but I know it's this week. And we also have FOMC, so that's going to be another you know, driver, if you will. So mostly this up move that we see on the dollar is the pullback, right? So I don't know how much longer it's going to continue to rise, but it has the potential, right? It can literally just kind of come back to this area that it broke and rise again, right, to get to this supply area before dropping. Or we could start dropping, you know, right now and potentially rise again, or just continue dropping. So it's very, very mixed at the moment. But from a overall higher time frame, right, we've already pulled back to the area that we broke. So it is time for it to drop, but we haven't changed structure, right? We're still making uptrend structure on the pullback. So until like we kind of break below this low, we're still bullish. All right, so I'm gonna go with bullish for right now on the dollar, but definitely when we get up in this area, I'm expecting the dollar to fall. All right, but we'll see how the cookie crumbles. The dollar's just a little mixed, guys, so be careful. All right, again, a lot of catalysts this week that can cause the dollar to completely tank or completely shoot to the moon, right? Just depending. All right, but again, from the higher time frame, guys, right, we've had the break of this low, all right, and we made this new low, and there's that pullback. So again, it could be a little deeper, right, meaning the dollar rises, right? But then from there, I'm definitely expecting a big drop, all right? And with that, you guys can pretty much line yourself up with the indices, right? When the dollar drops, the indices rise. So the indices have gotten beat up last week, right? Just doing horrendous numbers to the downside, right? So it's time for them to make their pullback to the upside, and that lines up with the dollar making its drop to the downside. So just want to have you guys keep that in mind. All right, so temporarily bullish on the dollar, overall bearish on the dollar, and we may get it from when it gets up to this area. We may get it from the area that it's at right now, because again, we're retesting the area that we broke. So it's definitely, you know, potential for it to drop. Just gotta, you know, see how things play out. All right, so bullish then bearish on the dollar. All right, moving over to our dollar, and all right, looks crazy from the 4-hour, but on the daily, what you guys can pretty much see is that we just broke this low, made this new low. So when we get lower, all right, going to the 15, so you guys can see all the nitty gritty, and this is what we have, right? A nice rising channel. Okay, so again, we're at the support area. We can rise from here, right, which is kind of what I expect, because the dollar's gonna, you know, I'm expecting the dollar to fall long term, but short term, it may rise. Right, so if the dollar rises, then the odd dollar could easily just kind of come down, sweep this liquidity, tap into demand, and then rise, right? So that'll be this position here, okay? But then you also have the position where it can bounce off the support, get into supply, and then drop, all right? Because again, with the dollar falling, this will rise a bit, And this pattern, right, this rising channel is a bearish reversal pattern. All right, so that's where we can get up to, you know, this supply and then drop. So it's really tricky, guys. They're not all lined up as far as correlation is concerned. So you really got to know how to go with what the chart is showing you and make sure that it lines up with the overall trend, and you'll be good. All right, but right now I'm going to say bullish on the odd dollar because we're coming off the support area of this rising channel. So, you know, I expect it to do some kind of, you know, up and down, you know, like this until it decides to break out to the downside. All right, but yeah, bullish on odd dollar. All right, euro dollar. All right, on euro dollar, right, it broke the high, made the new high, and we, you know, started pulling back. We got a nice double top, broke the neckline, and we started falling more. But now we're at the area that we broke, and it looks like we kind of tapped in right here, right, to that last demand level before we shot up. So basically the euro can start to rise. All right, and again, that lines up with the dollar falling. Okay, but you know, looking at it in detail, right, it still looks bearish, right? We're still breaking lows. We made this new low, so yeah, even though we can rise, you know, we got to get past this high, right? Because if we respect this supply area, we could drop or continue dropping on Euro USD, and that's, you know, my bias for the week right now is that it'll still drop, right? It'll rise a little bit, but then it'll drop when it gets to the supply area. Now, for whatever reason, if it doesn't respect the supply area due to news or anything else, because, you know, everything's up in the air with these tariffs, right? If it breaks above that high, then I'll be looking for, you know, potential buying opportunity. But the way the charts is lined up right now, we are still bearish on Euro USD, so I'm bearish. All right, over to pound dollar. Now pound dollar looks amazing, all right, for a buying opportunity. Let's look at it from the daily first, and you guys will see what I mean. Okay, just a very nice you know, break of this high, right, and then this full pullback to where we started, you know, we swept the liquidity here and we tapped into demand. So when we get lower, okay, what we're starting to see is we have divergence near this support area. Okay, and there it is right there, right? The chart is making lower lows, all right, and the RSI is making higher lows. So guys, I'm expecting the pound dollar to make a nice rise, but what I think it's going to do first, if you look at my position, right, I believe it's going to come down to sweep the liquidity here, tap into demand fully, and then take off to the upside, right? And on that play, I'm looking to make 217 pips. All right, so I'm bullish on pound dollar. All right, and get back up to here. Actually, I love the 4-hour time frame better. All right, and here it is, New Zealand dollar. All right, got to get low. Okay, and here you can see that, again, kind of similar vibes to our dollar, right, where it's making this rising channel. So it's really hard to tell if it's going to reverse. It looks like it's giving us a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders, right? So you got left shoulder, you got the head, you got the right shoulder, and we just kind of broke the neckline, you know, right around there. All right, so the break, the pullback, we could definitely rise up out of here, but we got to get past this supply level. So it's going to be tricky to see. I mean, we can take a buying opportunity and, you know, see if it fully reverses, but you know, if it doesn't get past supply, then it's bound to kind of fall. All right, and again, with the rising wedge or rising channel, that is a bearish reversal pattern. So it's going to be very interesting to see, you know, what happens with all the news that, you know, we have going on this week. So just kind of be mindful of that, right? This pullback may be short-lived when it gets to supply, and then it may, you know, tank. All right, so because the dollar can still, you know, rise a good bit to its supply levels before it drops. All right, so I'm gonna say bullish on New Zealand dollar just temporarily, because then again we can easily turn around and fall. All right, so we'll see you know, what we get when the week begins. All right, dollar CAD. All right, so dollar CAD, let's go a little higher because it looks like So definitely bearish. All right, just no doubt about it, right? Breaking this low right here, we made the new low, and then all of this was the pullback to the supply area. We're getting a nice rejection. So guys, I'm looking to take this for a sell. 197 pips to the downside, just a 48 pip stop loss. Bearish on dollar CAD. All right, dollar CHF also bearish. All right, same exact deal as the dollar CAD, right? And again, I'm expecting the dollar long term to take that push to the downside because it is in a downtrend. All right, that up move that it made last week is just the pullback to that downtrend, right? And that's what caused, you know, all the indices to fall. But now, you know, we're reversing, right? We're going into the run phase of that downtrend on the dollar, and that should again cause, you know, the non-dollar based pairs to rise and these dollar-based pairs to fall, and as well as the indices, that should cause them to rise. Also look for gold to rise, right, and silver. All right, we are in times of, you know, uncertainty, and those are the safe havens that typically do pretty good. All right, but bearish on dollar CHF. All right, dollar JPY, I'm bullish. All right, we got a nice change of character, made a new high. I believe we're going to pull back to this demand area in this fair value gap, and then we're going to rise from there. I'm looking to make 358 pips to the upside on dollar JPY. Now, yep, that doesn't line up with the dollar falling, but that's what it is, right? I go with what the chart is telling me, not with what the correlation happens to be. All right, so out of the three dollar based pairs, this is the only one that I'm buying. The other two I'm looking to sell, right? All right, so bullish on that. Pound odd, I'm bearish, right? I expect a pullback to the supply area and then a nice drop to go and fill this imbalance and retest the area that it broke, possibly getting a little lower to this demand area, right? And this is already 400 pips, so I don't really need more than that, right? You know what I mean? If I get it, good, but a 1 to almost 10 risk to reward is insane. All right, bearish on pound odd, and it's a really good setup, so don't miss out. All right, pound CAD, I'm bullish. All right, so we've gotten to this particular low, and it looks like we failed to get lower, right? And we have some imbalance to fill up to the supply area after we just broke this low. So again, the break, the new low, go to fill the imbalance, and then potentially fall from there. So initially, I'm bullish on pound CAD, and then I'm bearish on pound CAD. And just to give you guys a little high level overview, right? This is what it's looking like. So again, we broke some highs, we made the new highs. All of this is the pullback. Okay, so because we just broke this low right here, I'm expecting just another pullback to supply before it drops a little bit more. All right, so bullish on pound CAD and then bearish. All right, over to pound CHF. Man, I called this last week, guys, and I mean, this was over just a banging trade, right? Over 500 some odd pips to the downside. So hope you guys are paying attention to what I'm saying in these watch lists, so you can you know, run it up. All right, but here's the low, and we just had a change of character on the lower time frame, so we'll get a little lower. Right there it is. So there is potential now because we failed to get lower. We got a nice double bottom here, and then we just broke this high, getting a new high. So we're most likely going to pull back somewhere in this area, all right, before rising. And this is 234 pips on the table for pound CHF. Again, guys, I gave y'all the play last week. It did 500. All right, here's 234, right, coming into this week. Don't miss out. It'll drop, and then look for that buy. All right, bullish on pound CHF, pound JPY. I'm bullish. A nice inverted head and shoulders, right? And the JPY index looks like it's going to fall, all right, which will cause the pound to rise in this particular pair, right? And this also lines up with UJ, right? I was bullish on UJ, and you know, GJ is basically brother and sister. So you can see that it's also looking like it wants to rise. 270 pips on the table. I'm bullish on GJ. All right, pound New Zealand, I'm bearish, right? Got a nice little change of character here after we, you know, created this high. So we're starting to begin that pullback phase, right, of this major up move that we did. So I expect price to pull up into supply with this fair value gap, right? And then I expect it to fall for 327 pips to this demand area. Bearish on pound New Zealand. Very good play, guys. All right, over to crude oil. It just broke this high right here, so I'm expecting it to now pull back to this demand or to this imbalance, right? Sweeping this liquidity and then rising for about a $3 move, almost a $4 move. That's 400 pips on oil. I'm bullish on oil. All right, to silver. Don't really know what silver's going to do just yet. We did get a trend line break, but it's kind of moving sideways. So I'm going to assume that it wants to rise because the dollar's going to fall. But you know, I don't really have enough to make that decision. So you know, either way, I'll be bullish on silver just because of the times and the tariffs. All right, on gold, all right, we made a nice little double bottom, if you will. We just had a change of character, breaking above this high, so you guys can expect that gold will rise 63 points, guys. That's 630 pips on gold, risking about a 25 point move. But again, you can kind of, you know, bring it to something like this, just in case it gives that little pullback before it rises, and you're looking at, you know, $74 move. But ultimately, just gold is ready to buy, right? Because it broke this high, and all of this was just a pullback, right? It was a major pullback to this demand area, into the strong low, right? That eventually, you know, created you know, the demand area, right? So again, right now, I just think we're gonna get a nice drop and then rise up to the top. Natural gas. Let's look at it on the 4-hour. Okay, so yeah, I'm bullish on natural gas. I just expect it to tap into demand and then take off to the upside. This will be our first target, all right? And then from there, we can aim for the area that we broke previously, all right? And that'll be a good amount of profit on natural gas. All right, over to SPY. All right, so here's the bangers, guys. All right, again, SPY died. Okay, all the tariffs, whoop, made everything fall, but now we're at a major demand area, and I expect it to rise. That's just a long story short. Maybe it'll dip down just a little bit more, right, as the dollar rises, right? But once the dollar falls, get ready for the indices to make a comeback to the upside. All right, so plenty of money to be made on this pullback. Therefore, I'm bullish on SPY. Same for NAS, right? Bullish on NAS. Same exact makeup, same exact blueprint. You know, and they pretty much move similarly, as you guys can see on the chart. And last but not least, US30, also bullish on that, guys. It's giving us the perfect setup. Now, it hasn't changed structure yet to up, but once it does on a lower time frame, then I'm definitely going to be in for the buy, which will be the pullback of this downtrend that is currently in. All right, so keep that in mind. It's just a pullback. All right, but once it pulls back, then once it gets here or possibly up into this area, we'll be looking to sell again, and guys, we'll just be taking candy from a baby. All right, but this week, you know, a lot of mixedness, right, as far as correlation and what the chart is showing, right? So make sure to, you know, go by what the chart is giving you and leave correlation alone. Know that we do have an eventful week towards the middle of the week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when things will be popping. So, you know, if you don't get in on Monday and Tuesday, it's cool, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you got to make sure that you are in the place, all right, so that you can get what you need. All right, but don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, let your friends and family know. All right, get in the comments and let me know what you're looking at and what you think. And yeah, you know, that's it. So meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy. Peace.
Wanna get money? Wanna get paid? That's Forex. Like a sensei, then you know you gotta come and swing my way. And if you wanna fast forward, hit replay.